PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. Good to be back after missing last week. Good to have with me, as always, my friend Matty Gunner. I am PLD. Matty, how are you doing today?
I forgot that we missed last week. I completely forgot. I completely forgot. Probably because we don't celebrate Thanksgiving over here. That's probably why I completely forgot. But yes, happy belated Thanksgiving, I guess.
Why, thank you. Thank you very much. I actually don't do a whole lot on Thanksgiving, but I definitely had a lot to do last week for sure. And of course, big news dropped and we couldn't talk about it then. And always seems to be the way. Big news always tends to just elude us, whether it be right after I decide to take the week off for scheduling purposes, or
in this case, it was the day before.
Exactly. It was there the day before. I was like, all right, cancel it. Next morning, sure enough, boom. Of course, we have to talk.
You guys. I offered to go live and talk to the people, be the man of the people, but ever since the Alien Resurrections debacle, I've been ripped away. The keys to Dad's car have been pulled away.
Yeah, well, you know what? When you make a boo-boo like that, you crash the car, then it takes a little while to get the trust back on that one.
Shout out to Richard Eric Joey. Apparently, me and him crashed. We crashed the family car.
That's if you're wondering what the hell we're talking about, that's an old school reference to Class Action, the show that's been on hiatus for a while. We do give a shout out to Richard Eric Jarvie, the show Matty, Richard, and I used to do. Hopefully, we'll someday do again. If not, I got a special format or something. But yes, when you praise Alien Resurrection like you did, yeah, it's all over.
I mean, it won fair and square.
Wrong. It is wrong. Some things are just not. The Palpatine won fair and square too. That doesn't work. So either way, we are here. We have a lot of news to discuss. In fact, so much news we decided to just have a news episode. We actually don't have a sidebar topic, no show, no. We actually had a cool idea Matty had. I'll let you talk about it for a second because we'll preview probably next week's show, barring any other big news that drops that like kicks it back again. Matty, what are we going to discuss next week?
So I got to shout out my good friend Jason Chiodo from New Hope Workshop. He customizes lightsabers. He makes really awesome custom lightsabers, does all the sound effects, like the pixel effects and everything. Go check him out at New Hope Workshop on Instagram. Jason Chiodo, he's incredible. He posted this a reel of a fan film about pod racing, and all that was made was like a trailer's worth because they actually shot it on a volume stage.
Wow, that's cool.
And it was. I watched it and I was like, "This where do we start the Kickstarter? Where do we start the GoFundMe? Because this needs to be a movie." So we're reaching around for topics. I immediately reach out to Paul and I say, "Don't watch this. I want you to react to this on the show, and then we're gonna pitch a Star Wars sports movie."
A lot of things. We love our sports movie, both our action movie anatomy, stalwart sons as they were. And we love our sports movies as well. So why not put the two together and pick our? Kevin Costner's got to appear somewhere, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Frank Grillo's got to show up in Star Wars somewhere.
There you go. I have not watched it yet. I stayed true to my word. I saw the briefest 1 second snippet after you had posted the link to me or whatever, but I did not watch any of it. I'm going to stay true.
So good.
I can't wait to watch it. That'll be next week, though. This week, just a lot of news to go through. Might be a.
I think just real quick before we get into it, maybe that's something that we could do one day. Is just sit and when we got no news, nothing. We probably should have done this during the strike, but sit and watch fan film stuff. Because you have Jackson Hall, who created a YouTube series based around a scout trooper right after the Battle of Endor.
Yeah, that's a kind of very cool stuff. That fan films are always kind of a cool. They're hit or miss
Mm.
sometimes quality wise, but overall, they tend to be very creative and show things that we would never actually probably see on with Lucasfilm behind it. So
Yeah, there
definitely
was
a
that
good
one
outlet.
there was that one Darth Vader one that really sucked.
Yeah, I remember something like that. But
Mm.
sometimes fans go a little too far.
Mm.
But that's here or there. Anyway, let's get into all of the news. We had 2 weeks, like a week off. News did build up. Of course, we got the big news, which is in the thumbnail. We'll save that for the end. It'll be our bigger discussion, most likely.
Mm.
Of course, I'm hinting at the man in the cowboy hat. We'll get there. He's hurt Matty pretty much a few times, but Matty still comes back for more. Some pieces of news. Let's say I get most of my news from Star Wars News Net. I do love them. They do tend to curate the news quite well, as far as what's real, what's not real, what's rumor, it's where you go when you want to know, is this going on, what's going on. Here's the direct source from where the news springs. This first piece, kind of a duh kind of thing, but I like to talk about it anyway. Ming-Na Wen was interviewed, and she stated that she was unsure of when Fennec Shan will be returning to live action. It was confirmed, of course, that Fennec Shan will appear in the Bad Batch season 3 as voiced by Ming-Na Wen, who had also done the work, played the character in the animated series before, and which supposedly wrapped up back in June, or at least Omega actress Michelle Ang wrapped up. So I got to say that's got to be close to release. I wish we'd get some kind of news on that. We haven't heard a damn thing since the fact that they announced at Celebration that there's a season 3 coming. That's it. I gotta believe it's in the first quarter of 2024 at this point.
From what I saw of the trailer, it looked like they were, because it said they were still working on it.
Right.
It's got, from what I saw in the trailer, it's got to be, or it had to have been like, I'd say probably 70% of the way there.
Right. That
So
makes sense.
It's got to be soon. It has to.
Well, we'll actually come back to that part of the story in another piece of news. But let's just say there's a quote from her regarding the live action Fennec Shan. She was asked about returning. She said, "No, I don't, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I keep sending out good energy. I miss being her. Now that the strike is over, I think it's going to be fun and accelerated to try to get every production back online. I certainly pray and hope that Fennec comes back, but unfortunately, that is unless I cosplay myself." Combining this quote with the news, the rumored source that Boba Fett himself, Tamir Morrison, had a meeting with Lucasfilm regarding the future of Boba Fett. I wonder what this does foretell. Obviously, there's a couple different possibilities. You have, is there a Book of Boba Fett season 2? Unlikely, from what I think. That's my own personal opinion. Did not go over too well with the audiences overall. Probably the least liked series of the bunch. I mean, and that's like not saying it's bad. I love most of it. But I'm saying, as far as if you look at the online things, they basically, this is the one that's on the bottom. Whether she could return to Mandalorian, maybe Boba Fett returns to Mandalorian. Do they have their own movie? Are they going to be the Dave Filoni movie? I gotta feel like she's not done yet, though, because I think she's a favorite enough character that she's not done. But what are your thoughts on
that? Two things. First, to the Boba Fett thing, they can't keep doing this just because like something wasn't well received in one season that they're not going to try and flesh it out more. You can't keep doing that. I mean, I remember, I can't remember what season it was, but it was the one where Patrick Adams and Meghan Markle weren't in suits. I think it was season, I want to say 5 or 6. And then it was kind of like, well, Gabriel Mack, Harvey Specter is awesome, but like there's a massive chunk missing here. Let's just completely write this off. No, you keep it going, and then you bring the star back, and suddenly it's great again. It's like, you can't just like, think of it in like pro wrestling terms, right? And like, this is quite topical with like CM Punk coming back.
Right.
You can't just bury a guy. Look at me being the talking in wrestling terms. You can't just like bury a guy just because like he has a few off matches here and there, right? Because it's ultimately what the fans are going to want to say. Like, if that guy's going to get a massive pop every time he comes out, then eventually they're going to be like, maybe we shouldn't have, buried that guy down.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All of here's the thing with these strikes and with the, shall we say, refocusing of content. As far as I hate calling it content. I mean, I gotta get out of calling that, because it's not. It shouldn't be called content. It should be called, this is like art we're doing. This is like
A
people's
show or a movie.
show or movie, and a lot of people work on these things. And calling it content does kind of devalue it in some people's eyes. So I understand that. Um, but because they are refocusing and they're kind of pulling the brakes on things, I don't blame them for not doing a second season of Book of Boba Fett for now. Take our losses and like really refocus it elsewhere. But it doesn't mean we bury the characters. And that's what I'm here for. I think we have Boba Fett finish in. I think they can return. I think you can find a place for them in Mandalorian. I think they definitively should be in the Mandoverse movie, for sure. I just don't see Book of Boba Fett coming back at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe they do it in a different kind of way as well. Maybe
Who doesn't love Boba Fett? Who doesn't love Boba Fett?
I absolutely. I think Boba Fett's a wonderful character overall, and I think I think they've done very well by him overall. And some people don't like what they've done with him as far as the Book of Boba Fett. I understand the idea of that wasn't what they wanted to see. They kind of heard Boba Fett. They want Boba Fett to be the badass bounty hunter he was. Hard to do that when Din's already out there. It kind of makes it like redundant to a degree. So they try to make him the gangster on Tatooine. But I think there's definitely a place for him in the universe somewhere, and just for them to find out something that will fit both the characters and what we'd like to see from them. But either way, I definitively believe we haven't seen the last of Ming Na Wen in live action. And this, I mean,
I think she's in the Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff coming up, the one with Anna de Armas and Norman Reedus. I think she's in that. So maybe she'll be shooting it after that. Who knows?
Could be. I mean, and despite we don't talk about a lady's age, but man, she looks great for her age. It's hard to believe that.
Hey man,
she is
if,
that kick ass.
If you'd have told me she's in her 50s like that, or like if you told me Michelle Yeoh's age, I would have been like, shut the fuck up, you're lying.
I'm 47. They could kick my ass without even breaking a sweat. I'd be done in a fucking second. So, all right. Next up, I didn't actually tell you I was going to do this one. But you mentioned burying, and I had mentioned burying, and it's kind of a mini.
We're going to talk about Buriaga?
No, we're not. We should though. That'd be different burying. Yes, absolutely.
Bury lives.
So Taika Waititi was in the press again a little bit. People got to stop asking about Star Wars, or if they don't stop asking about Star Wars, then they have to take his responses with a grain of salt, please. Like, do we not know who this person is? Have we not had interactions with him? And like, obviously not real interactions, but as far as news goes, like as far as interviews go, have we not had interactions with him for the past like 5, 6, 7 years? He basically was asked about a Star Wars film, and he laughed. He said, "It will be," dramatic pause, "a Taika Waititi film is gonna piss people off." Good. Now, some people like went off on that, and I gotta say, like, do we not know who this person is? And I think honestly, it's true we don't, because this is a little mini rant on how fickle we are and how quickly the tide changes, and how amazing we can like worship somebody and then drop them to the mat in the space of a heartbeat. So Thor: Love and Thunder was definitively divisive at best. Many people would put that on the lower end of the MCU rankings. A lot of people
can I just quickly say,
sure,
out of the phase, we in phase 5 in the MCU?
I believe so, yes.
Out of all the movies that have come out in phase 5, I think that's the best one.
You are alone on that, my friend. I think that's the issue. Although I will say, I will go with you a little bit. I actually did enjoy it a lot more than most. But even beyond that, that's one film, one movie. Thor Ragnarok is my favorite MCU entry. We are one film removed from that. This is also the guy who did What We Do in the Shadows. This is also the guy who did Jojo Rabbit. This is the guy who has a history of doing great, quirky films that people have loved.
So, shout out to Star Wars Sessions. I love you guys. they posted this very quote of Taika saying it's going to be a Taika Waititi movie and like it's going to piss people off. To which my reaction was, "Good, give me Space Jojo Rabbit, but instead of Hitler, the kid's imaginary friend is Tarkin.
Very nice, very nice.
Just give me this little kid who like wants to grow up to be an Imperial, and his imaginary friend is Tarkin, and like just CGI, just like." Do the deep fake of Tarkin for the entire movie. Just like
Voiced by Taika?
Yeah, voiced by Taika. Oh, dude. Tarkin voiced by Taika. Oh, that would really piss people off. But there was also the quote of which made me laugh because he said, "Oh, I only did Thor Ragnarok for the money." It's like indie filmmaker does giant blockbuster for a big paycheck.
Hello. I don't see a problem with that at all.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, but are you for real?
Right. That's what a lot of people are in there for. I gotta say, yes, they're in it for art as well, but generally speaking, you make the paycheck when you make the paycheck. Chris Evans has come out, had said that Cap, he loved his time in Cap, but he far prefers what Cap does for him, which allows him to make the movies he wants to make. It's okay for artists to make these films at that level and not be necessarily in love with the material. It's okay. It still ends up making a good film. And that's what matters.
I saw it was Orlando Bloom on, I think it was on Howard Stern, said he made 35 grand for the entire of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. 35 grand for playing Legolas. He had no like merch rights, anything like that. And he said, you know what? If I could go back and do it again and still get paid only 35 grand for it, I'd do it.
Absolutely.
Some people have the love for it. Some people just want to make the big check.
Absolutely.
It's okay to do both. You know, what we do in the shadows, our flag, our flag means death. That's probably not paying Taika's, they're probably not paying all his bills off.
He's got a family. He's got to get paid. This is what happens. He still is a competent professional overall. You're going to throw Love and Thunder in my face. I don't care. He still made quite a few films that have worked out very well. By the way, I just fact checked you. It's $175,000 for all three films. We were Orlando Bloom. I was kind of curious. Still comparatively, that making absolutely.
Yeah, how much money do those movies make?
Yes, a lot, a shit ton. Absolutely, who making a lot more if he was I'm sure he made more for his time in The Hobbit. I'm quite sure
he probably did, and he was only in what two of the three
Hobbit movies. Absolutely. So.
There we go. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people that do it for the love of it, and there's people that do it for the paycheck. And when Taika comes out and says, "I'm going to make a Taika Waititi movie," he's probably just saying, "Yeah, I'm making the movie." He's probably not saying, "I am making a Thor: Love and Thunder." He's probably just saying, "Yeah,
he can only make a Taika Waititi movie because he's Taika Waititi. That's what it is."
Taika Waititi. And when we were Scoundrels of the Force, before you saw the name,
for handshake and a tickle, yeah.
There's a lot more than that from what I've heard.
Wow, that's infringing on my good name, sir. How dare you? You're not wrong, but how dare you?
I said that I think he's the greatest working director today, and I stand by it. Come at me. I think as an artist, he is not afraid to just throw things at the wall and be like, I like that. I'm going to do it. How is he going to fit into the whole like Lucasfilm box? And now with Dave being, and we're going to get to this, Dave being like the grand overseer of like the general theme.
Grand Poobah.
The Grand Poobah. How is the Taika Waititi-ness going to fit in? We're going to get like a Taika Waititi, George Lucas hybrid. And I'm curious what that looks like.
Well, I mean, to be quite frank, I mean, it's not like this is actually not even a Marvel situation. Taika does love Star Wars. He's already mentioned that quite a few times. And he's worked within Lucasfilm before already. He already worked on Mandalorian. He voiced, obviously, IG-11. He directed Mandalorian season 1 episode.
My favorite episode of season 1.
And he fit very well into that bed. And that was not a really bizarrely out there. He fit into the box he needed to fit into for Mandalorian. Sure, there was some eccentricities to the episode, absolutely. but it was exactly what you'd want to see. The perfect merger of the Waititi-ness with within the realm of the box that Mandalorian had already painted. When he tried working with Filoni, I think it's going to be a beautiful matchup.
I'm covering my mouth because I want you to finish your thought. Now that we have Ahmed Best back, Taika Waititi, Jar Jar Binks movie.
That would piss people off. That would piss people off quite a bit. I'd be all in for it, though. I'll be all
I
in for it.
watched the shit out of that movie.
I have a feeling, unfortunately, it's going to be something. Not unfortunately, but I have a feeling it's going to be something completely off, like without any.
Oh, it probably will. But like, if Taika did like Jar Jar's time when he was like exiled as a clown on Tatooine, and then suddenly like he builds himself back up.
Yeah, yeah,
that would
be. How awesome would be Taika Waititi plays Jar Jar Binks' like cousin or something, long lost brother or something like that. You got two Jar Jars in there for the price of one.
Taika is a Gungan would be pretty good.
I'd love it. I would completely love it, and that would definitely be one way to piss people off. That's for sure. But I'm here for it, man. But either way, I just want to rant, like, just to finish my rant out in a way, just to solidify my point, was that the guy has done great work throughout. He made one misstep, and that's our culture today, and I hate it. We have somebody have one misstep, and all of a sudden, like, they're the bottom of the barrel. Dude, if you go 5 for 6 in a baseball game, you are a Hall of Famer. You don't want to face him the next time he comes up to bat because he's going to hit it out of the park, or he's going to hit it ground rule. He's going to get a base hit on it. He's not. You don't expect him all of a sudden to just strike out every time because he had one misstep, which, again, and I call it a misstep, I still enjoyed it. So I just hate that culture, and it feels like we're so reactive to these days. And it's just, let them cook people, let them do what they're going to do.
This is where I we need like a Rogan has a Jamie. Can you pull up how much Love and Thunder made?
Sure, it's quite a bit. Yeah, sure.
Because I want to know what we're defining as a misstep here.
Well, it's more of a critical misstep for sure. That's what the problem would be. But financially, absolutely made, let's say, budget of 250 million. It made 760.9 million.
That don't seem like too much of a misstep to me.
And introduce my favorite Marvel character, Hercules. So give it to me. I'll take it. But
and my favorite Marvel villain so far is Christian Bale as Gore. Like I still stand by that. I think he tops Thanos, he tops Ronan, tops. Yeah, I put him above Loki.
Damn, sir. Good for him. Hey, we are nothing if not hot takes here on no these Snokes
because of what he stood for.
I'm good. Hey, I'm all for it. I get it. I totally get it. And I mean, I'm always here for a good Guns N' Roses needle drop or 17. As it were.
I will admit they did fuck up not using Metallica's Ride the Lightning.
yeah, it's not a bad point. That's a bad point. Okay, well, let's continue on going through our news. That was a improvised news bit I wanted to just touch base on.
Hey, I'll defend Taika to the death. It's fine. I'll defend Taika to the death.
Absolutely, I will as well. So far, fuck up Hondo though. If Hondo gets fuck you up, then they're dead to me. That's not here to that. So we're a long way away from that. Of course, you put Hondo in your film, you might buy me some love anyway, though. So buy some time for yourself anyway.
If Taika's the one that ends Hondo watch,
you'd be a god amongst gods. You'd be our new patron saint. We'd have Holy Token would have Hondo here, and then have a Taika somewhere else.
Taika watch. It would become Taika watch.
All right, next bit of news we got. A quick bit of news, but something I'm looking forward to. The Star Wars Holiday Special documentary, which is entitled A Disturbance in the Force, has a release date now, December 5th on Blu-ray and digital media. I saw the trailer again.
So that'll be our next episode, right? That'll be the episode after that. We'll be reviewing that. Hell yeah,
we should do that. Absolutely. That's actually next week though, so we may have to push the sports board back, or we give us time to watch it. But the week after. Let's do it after. Let's do that after. Give us some time to watch it anyway, and it's at that point. So, I like this. Watch this trailer. I'm excited about it. It's such a fascinating story of the 70s, of the fandom, and like it's something we couldn't Imagine this thing came what was around during today's day and age. Oh my God! Talking about people like losing their
The
minds over
internet
things.
would fucking implode if
I
this
don't know if
came out
Empire
now.
Strikes Back. I don't know if Empire Strikes Back would have been made. I don't know, honestly, because the companies would
That's
have
a
been
good
freaked out
point.
so much. Absolutely, they would freak out so much. One big hit in Star Wars, and the holiday special came out and ruined everything for it.
It would have been like Kevin Feige would have watched it and have been like, yeah, that's a tax write-off. That's not coming out. That's a tax write-off.
Oh, David Zaslav or Max, my God, get him out of there. But it's so cool that it actually has a documentary made about it, because I can't wait to see what's happening to this thing, because I've watched this thing once in my life. I didn't watch it when I was young, never saw it, despite my advancing age. I did not watch this. I finally watched it about, I'd say 10 years ago, or 10 to 15 years ago. I finally found it.
Have you not watched it since?
I have not watched it since. I've watched it once in my life. And I sat down and said, finally can watch it, watched it, and was like, what the hell is... I did rewatch the Boba Fett portion before Mandalorian, so I did rewatch that part, I will say. And like, I've seen bits and clips and everything else, but I've never sat down and watched it throughout. I do have
it's appointment viewing in this household around the holidays.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Nice. I have downloaded a fan-made
I love stupid
version
in my
of it.
Star Wars. I love stupid and silly in my Star Wars. I love it. It's the best.
I don't blame you at all. I downloaded a fan-made version of it, which like kind of, I guess, like I remastered it to the best I could to like clean it up and everything else, but supposedly kept in like a lot of the 70s TV commercials as well.
Get on it.
No, there is one actually out there already did it. I downloaded it. I found it. I haven't watched it yet, but I have to see how good it is.
I know.
But either way,
Mets, I know you listen. I need the Kev Smats cut of the holiday special.
That'd be a 30-second version, maybe, and then Revan comes in and just takes out everybody. That's probably what happens. I love it, Kev. Speaking of scoundrels, they're going to be at the
LA Comic Con.
LA Comic Con. I believe. So I want to make sure I get that right. So I want to throw them out there. They have a panel, and they're going to be sitting there. Let me just look it up real quick. As we
I think it's on this Saturday. I think.
Is it this Saturday coming up?
I think it is on the Saturday. Hang on, let me check. You wouldn't mind us looking this up.
Yeah, it's just high quality work right here. It's high quality work.
Celebrate the love, a journey of friendship through Star Wars. LA Comic Con Sunday, December 3rd at 1:30 p.m. Room at 308 AB. Go watch our good friends Scoundrels Inc. They will be there.
Kevin, Brett Hanna, Frank Janish, good people all. And they are going to be, they're going to have a great, it should be a great time. So I definitely would push that for you guys. So, but either way, the holiday special documentary coming out, I can't wait to see it. Supposedly went deep dive into everything from like timely interviews to more current interviews. That should be a lot of fun. That should be a fun time for everybody, I got to say. Star Wars is always at its best. Like, I think, despite the
dumb as shit.
Despite the recent fandom, like whatever, I think back in the day when Star Wars something negative happened or something bad happened, instead of like trashing it, we just kind of make fun of it together because it's part of the family. And that's how I used to love Star Wars being. Like, we'd have something come out, we're like, that was fucking pretty shitty, but that's all right. We'd laugh about it. We move on. I wish we can get back to that. And this seems like that's the kind of thing this is going to be. Here's
the thing. How many of those accounts that shit on this stuff are actually real people and not just bot accounts created by people? I want to see the figures of how, like, of course Elon will probably never put them out, but like how many of those accounts are just like bot accounts on YouTube or like I because anytime I've been to a few celebrations now. I wouldn't say I'm a celebration veteran, but you know, I've been to a few Comic Cons. Never once had a bad interaction with anyone. No one time.
Well, it's amazing what keyboard warriors can do. Sometimes they act sometimes different in real life than they do, otherwise. But regardless, I just think this is the kind of a fun thing I'd like to see. So I can't wait for it myself.
Like Wu-Tang, Star Wars is for the kids.
Bingo, bingo, bango. All right, next up, we got Kitty Sackhoff addressing fan speculation, talking about Mandalorian and fan speculation. She had some, I don't know, pointed words towards the fandom in a loving way. She said, no, I think there's always going to be a lot of speculation in this fandom. This is basically addressing the idea that Bo-Katan was going to be taking over the Mandalorian instead of being Din Show. And she said, no, I think there's always going to be a lot of speculation in this fandom. You know, I think it's one of the reasons why people love this fandom so much. They love this universe so much that a lot of times it allows just enough ambiguity for people to interpret things the way they want to interpret them. And out of that, there's this ability to have a lot of misinformation get out, or just, you know, maybe wishful thinking. And I think in this situation, I think that the story of the Mandalorians and the story of Bo-Katan needed to be told. I don't believe in any way that it was taken away from Din's story, nor was that ever the intention. And, you know, Pedro and I aren't in charge of who's going to lead the show. Laughs. This is Din Djarin's show. It will always be Din Djarin's show.
What did I say last episode? What did I say last episode?
I fully agree.
This is going to be a theme of things I said in the last episode coming to fruition.
Absolutely. Always going to be Din's show. No doubt. No doubt there. Doesn't mean we're not going to see Bo-Katan.
And Dave.
That's right. And Dave said Dave. That's right. I still think we'll see Bo-Katan in the show. I think that's absolutely good. I think she's absolutely coming back, and I think she should come back. I want her to come back. I wouldn't mind seeing a Bo-Katan spinoff, an actual Bo-Katan spinoff.
Book of Bo-Katan.
I have no problem with that. Book of Bo-Katan would be great. And definitely think with Dave in charge of the movie, of Mandoverse movie, I think there's no way she's not involved in that as well. Somehow going to have a lot of Mandalorians in that, I feel like.
I hope she's the one that kills Thrawn. I mean, I want it to be Chopper. I think it's going to be Chopper. But I hope the Bo-Katan kills Thrawn, because could you imagine the red eyes? Oh, God, I often feel like I use like guerrilla warfare, that I employ their own tactics against them, but like flip to the other side.
So not just Thrawn's red eyes, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like Dark Ray, and that like she sees the vision of like what she would look like if she turned to the dark side.
Yeah, but in your case, I don't know if it's an if. You're pretty much right there already, but that's okay.
I use my evil powers for good.
That's true. I'll give you that. Well, speaking of Ray, that is actually our next story. Daisy Ridley
Segway King, baby.
Bingo. Daisy Ridley was talking about her new movie and opened up about her Star Wars return. She talked to Collider, and a couple quotes from her. I will tell you, Steve, Frosty from Collider, when I saw you in Park City at the Sundance Film Festival in January, I had not been approached. I was asked some, not by you, but I was asked something when I was there, and strangely, people were asking me stuff, and I was like, no, I'm not doing another one. Then it all happened after I came back. It was nice, such a nice reception. I was shitting myself before I went on stage because no one knew I was going to do that. No one knew I was going to Celebration, bar like Kathy Kennedy, and there are a couple of people. I was so nervous. Oh my God, it was such a wonderful reception. I'm very excited. The story is really cool. I'm waiting to read a script because obviously I don't have any other updates. It's not what I expected, but I am very excited. I know the storyline for one film. That's not to say that that's all it is, but that's what I was told about. And I imagine it will be the next film. Again, I don't know post-strikes and everything, how quickly everything will start up again. But yes, so far, I know the story of one film, and I think people will be very excited. Okay, so we got the idea that Daisy, she's obviously not going to shit on a film. She's not going to come. I read the script,
especially one that she hasn't even read the script for.
Right. It's fucking awful storyline. I don't know why I'm coming back. She's not going to say that. She's going.
Oh my God, my character's such a Mary Sue in this movie.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can only take that with such a grain of salt, right? But she did seem genuinely excited about the storyline, possibly. And I still want to hone in on that. I know the storyline for one film. That's not to say that that's all it is, but that's what I was told about. That leads me to believe that I think the plan is in place, and I'm hoping this is the case, that they're going to concentrate on the one film, the one storyline, with plans in place to say, all right, I'd like to continue our relationship. I'd like to continue the continuing adventures of Rey and have the continuing adventures of Rey happen beyond this movie, but let's not set up a trilogy per se. Let's not make a Rey trilogy in mind. Let's make this one film and then we go, okay, what's the next adventure after that, kind of thing. Because it seems like, we've had these rants before. A lot of times, film, not even just Star Wars, films in general. I mean, look at the freaking Universal Monsters things. They do too much about, let's put in this stuff for future. No, don't worry about future films. Don't worry about laying things out for a long time. Just do one very good film, a self-contained story, and if people like it, which they hopefully will, and it's a success, then we can worry about how do we continue on from there. And I think that's
a wise man once said, keep your concentration here and now where it belongs.
Absolutely. Hopefully that's the case. And I feel like that's the case. But either way, she also saying she imagines it will be the next film that does line up with everything that we've heard. Because Mandoverse is most likely going to have to be after. I mean, if Mando season 4 isn't coming out until 2025, we haven't even touched Ahsoka season 2, which technically still hasn't been greenlit yet, but we'll talk about that again in a little bit. But all that stuff's got to take place before the Mandoverse movie. So it's got to take place in at least 2027, 2028, depending on everything going on. So I definitely think this is probably going to be the first film out of the gate. I feel like it's the one's closest done. The script is either done or nearly done. And I know Mangold's the other announced movie. So
Mangold's is going to take a long
way away.
Mangold's is going to take a lot. I mean, I heard that Mangold's was going to be the first, but this was like long before the strikes. This was like pretty much as it was being announced. I heard that they were like, this is going to be the next one. But then obviously the strikes happened, and now I think about it, I'm like, the thing that Mangold is tackling is possibly the biggest Star Wars project since the original trilogy.
Well, absolutely.
The creation of the Jedi, like essentially the start of everything that we've ever known.
Yeah, there's a lot of design. There's a lot of design work alone. We're designing a whole new galaxy.
You can't fuck that up. Like,
no.
Okay, yes, you can have complete creative freedom of it because it was set so long ago, but like once that is set in place, there's no like you can't have more than one beginning. Like,
right,
it's like it's like you're going backwards to set your first impression.
Right.
Like, you
absolutely
very rare, if ever, do you ever get a chance to do that.
I agree. And Mangold definitely had some other films he was making beforehand as well, so it definitely had some time in place. So as far as it goes, those are the 3 announced films. We still obviously have the Taika Waititi film, which, as we know, is a long way away now. He's mentioned that he's got a bunch of projects he's doing. We have other possibilities like Chuck Levy and stuff, but like Sean Levy.
Sean Levy.
I don't know where I got Chuck from. Sean Levy, we don't know anything more that he was doing it, so I don't think he's very far along. So that makes sense that this would be.
Isn't he working on Deadpool?
He is doing Deadpool 3 right now. Yeah, that's what he's working on right now. So we probably will get an update on that potentially after Deadpool 3, and that update.
Oh, he's going to get asked that during Deadpool.
100%. And that update may even well be. I want to get people ready for it. You never know. Sean Levy goes, yeah, we decided not to do it because we decided we worked on something, we pitched it, it didn't really work out, and it'll break everybody's heart, and everybody's like, there we go again. But that's what happens when things aren't announced. This was never announced.
I can tell you exactly what he's going to be like. What he's going to say. He said, "I'm going to make a very Sean Levy Star Wars movie."
It's going to piss people off.
And I can tell you though, I know for a fact what the one main question is going to be when it comes to talking about his movie. Have you talked to Ryan about being involved?
Absolutely, he did wield quite a lightsaber in was it the Adam Project? Right?
No, Free Guy.
No, he did do that in Free Guy as well. I was thinking actually though, the Adam Project was the other one he was in, where he had like a lightsaber type weapon. It was actually more of a.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I haven't watched the Adam Project since me and Jarby talked about it. So.
I love that movie. I gotta say, I'll tell you right now, that actually felt like that's the kind of thing I think would fit very well into Star Wars. So I can't wait to see him do that.
I just love Ryan. I love Ryan Reynolds. Like, shout out to Jake Yacovetto. He's possibly the biggest champion of this show, other than me. Welcome to Wrexham. Like, oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Like, I knew the result of the game that the finale is based on this season.
Right.
Like, I knew the result. I knew what happened. I watched that, tears in my eyes because of like seeing how much it means to the people behind the scenes, how much it means to the
Right.
town of Wrexham. I was like, Ryan and Rob McElhenney's idea to do a documentary about this, it's genius.
That's a show I really do have to. It's on my list,
You
my
have
queue
to.
list of stuff. I do. I mean, I love the idea of it. I mean, obviously, I'm a Ted Lasso guy, and that kind of like leads into that a little bit
He's a
more.
real life Ted Lasso.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't not like it. So yeah. So there we go with that. So that's where we are with that. I think it's gonna be a cool idea for this one to be the first film out of the gate. It makes sense. Let's kind of ride the momentum because Daisy Ridley's announcement was pretty well received overall by the general Star Wars fandom. So I can't let's get those people butts back in seats. Let's get a good Daisy Ridley film, a good Rey movie out there before we move on to some other ones as well. So, all right, got two other quick stories before we drop into our main topic of Mr. Cowboy Hat himself. This was a quick bit, and this is kind of another one of those duh moments in a way. Actress asked about whether she'd want to be in Star Wars. Yes, of course. But this was a little different. She's actually in the family already. Vanessa Marshall, of course, the voice actress behind Hera, was expressed a desire in a Collider panel to play a live action Mara Jade. And she pitched it out to the world and said, I would love to play Mara Jade. Can you call Dave Filoni and just let him know that I'd love to play Mara Jade? I think we'd all just like to be in live action in some way. Haven't had the opportunity to do it yet, but my background is actually in live action. And here's the thing. I don't want to be disparaging to Vanessa at all.
Hey, Paul, do you want to be in Star Wars?
Yes, I do. I would love to play Talon Card. Call Dave Filoni. Tell him that. And I mean that just I don't want to be disrespectful to her at all. She was asked the question, she answered it. There's a couple of things here. A couple of things I have to unpack. First of all, from what I gather, I don't think we're ever, especially with the Dave Filoni being in charge, I don't think we're going to get Mara Jade in live action. So I kind of feel like Dave Filoni is of the George Lucas mindset of that.
Is George Lucas still above ground?
We're not going to Mara Jade.
That's the answer to your question. If anyone ever asks, is Mara Jade going to pop up? Is George Lucas still above ground?
There you go. And at this point, even after that, because Dave Filoni is obviously he takes George Lucas very preciously. So I think Dave Filoni will also try to shoot that down.
If Dave put me in charge after him, I wouldn't bring her in either.
Yeah. I wouldn't either at this point. I like her in the books from the Legends days. I'm not going to lie. I like that some of the storylines, but I would not want to see her translate at this point. There's too much baggage around it, the whole thing. And if it was going to be, and let's just throw that aside. If we were going to put Mara Jade out there, I just feel like Vanessa wouldn't be the one to do it. If she was going to be in live action Star Wars, they would have cast her as Hera. Like that would make sense in a way. But like I feel like this is something different for them. And again, it's not to disparage Vanessa. I don't even know her as a live action. I only know her from Rebels, and I think she did a fantabulous job in Rebels. I just see this as a not
fantabulous.
Fantabulous. I've never heard that. It's a coined word from PLD. I love her in that role. And hey, if she had, I'm not saying she can't do a live action Star Wars character, but I don't think it's ever going to be Mara Jade. So
it for sure will never be Mara Jade, like ever.
Never, ever.
I'm just quickly Googling what Vanessa Marshall been, because I'm guaranteeing she wasn't in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Rebels, Guardians again. A lot of animation. Oh, she was in The Grim Adventures of Bill and Matty. Didn't know that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it says she has a background. Wait, she was in? Oh, of course she was in Metal Gear Solid 2. I'm not seeing any live action stuff here. Jane the Virgin. Okay. She was in an episode. Oh, of course she was in Scrubs.
Which episode of Scrubs was she in?
Oh, she was in one of the later seasons. Yes. Okay, she was. God, what was her name? I'm not going to look it up because I'm a former Scrubs trivia champion. I should know this.
You should know this, especially with Star Wars related.
What the fuck was her name? Becky. She played a character called Becky on Scrubs.
Okay. I've not gotten back. I actually have been
rewatching another shot.
I have been rewatching Scrubs. I mean, like season 3 now. So I have been, yes. I have been. I enjoy it quite a bit. I loved it when it came out, but I have never got a chance to really go back and rewatch it. This is my first real
Better not
rewatch.
Better not be
And I'm
coming for
enjoying it.
me.
Oh, I won't be coming for you. Don't worry. I'm not trivia
You're
wise.
retired. You're retired.
I'm retired.
Right?
You forget. I retired from trivia a long time ago. Until I don't. But I'm retired. So, okay. Let's see what else we got here. That was a quick bit. This is the news that is more rumor. This is not from Star Wars News.net. Got this from Bespin Bulletin. These guys, Bespin Bulletin's a great scooper, I should say.
I like
and not in a bad way. Like, I'm not saying they fight for scoops, but they do have inside sources that they report on. I don't go there very often. Also, I don't like spoilers too much, but they do have a history of being accurate as far as some inside information goes. So, but take this with a grain of salt, because like everything said, this is not announced. This is nothing. I mean, this is nothing announced. The only thing that has been announced about Skeleton Crew, which is the topic of conversation here, is that there was a trailer at Celebration that Jude Law is in it. We have a little bit of a young actor,
acclaimed child actor Jude Law.
Acclaimed child actor Jude Law. We got the what is his name? The pirate from Mandalorian is going to be in it at one point.
Not Gorian Shot, not Kale Organa.
Not the Kale Organa, but his underling, so to speak. Evander Kane, I think it was. Something to that effect. Either way, he's going to be in it.
I don't care.
And Urkel's going to be in it as well as a pirate. We did hear that at one point. But beyond that, as far as release dates go, it's been all conjecture, all whatever. We did have the was the copyright that said it was going to be in January, December.
Yeah, it's like the second week of January.
Something to that effect. However, okay, with all that being said, Bespin reported that according to his news or his source, and it was corroborated by some other well-placed sources as well, that for whatever reason, Skeleton Crew was going to be pushed almost a full year and not come out till holiday season 2024, which if you say that, that sounds a lot like somewhere in that Thanksgiving to Christmas range of 2024. Two things. Does Christmas reign? If somebody says holiday season 2024, does that mean is January part of holiday season? There's New Year's. I don't know if that counts, but I'll throw that out
Chinese
there.
New Year.
Chinese New Year, potentially. But it does actually match up with an earlier report that he had gotten, that Bespin had gotten, and he had reported in September that it was going to be pushed into 2024. These same things are now saying it's going to be delayed about an entire year. So we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, before you pushed record, and you had your thoughts. So lay them on me. Tell me what you think.
We've just had a 117-day strike. This thing's in the can. It's good to go. How much money have Disney been hemorrhaging for the last 100 and something odd days? Like, it would be frankly like malpractice, career like stupidity for them to push it back a few months. I get it, fine. Push it back towards like April, May, fine. That cool. A whole year? I'm sorry, that's
You're saying you don't believe the reports.
I'm saying it's full of shit.
Okay.
I'm saying it's complete. And this is not to disparage Bespin, because like you, I like Bespin. I think his sources are full of shit.
Say it's from Lucasfilm source specifically. Just saying.
Hey, cool. I could talk to a janitor at Lucasfilm and like call them a source. Like,
okay. Well, I will throw it out there and say,
does that make sense to you though, to push something that is like in the can, ready to go? You've been hemorrhaging money for weeks, for months on end now, and you're going to push it back.
I understand what you're saying.
Whole year?
100%. 100%. I understand what you're saying. Maybe it was not in the can as much as we thought it was. Maybe they decided to revamp something. They didn't like what was going on. They decided to do some reshoots. So we don't really know. This is the problem with nothing being announced at this point. And this is as far as speculation goes, and how dangerous speculation can get. We saw a trailer. We heard, it's pretty much done shooting. We should be good to go. It should be good to go after the strikes. maybe during the strikes, like they said, there's another report from another thing that the writer's strike made them relook at the Mandalorian season 4 scripts that was supposed to start filming in November, and that they retooled a lot of that, and that it was for the better. Maybe the time of the strike made them look at Skeleton Crew and what they had and said, you know what? Now that Dave Filoni is in charge and we have everything going towards this movie, maybe we can do something with this and shape things. And if they're changing something up, I don't know. We don't have any idea. So that's what makes sense to me. Because otherwise, I'm with you in the sense of that if it was done, if it is fully in the can, if it's ready to go, then it does not make sense for me to push it a year as well. But that's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs along the way that we don't know because we're not Lucasfilm employees. We don't have those kind of connections. With that being said, there was an article in Empire that said we were getting 5 Star Wars shows next year. Bad Batch Season 3, Tales of the Jedi Season 2, Andor Season 2, Skeleton Crew, and Acolyte. Now, here's the other part of the process for me. Obviously, I think there's, even without sources, we're getting Bad Batch Season 3. That's going to happen this year and probably earlier on in the year. Tales of Jedi, this is the first I've heard of it being definitively in this year. That could be wrong. I don't remember when they made the announcement whether they actually had a release date. I kind of just, if I remember correctly, the announcement was more like, we're doing it. Beyond that,
that's literally all that we know so far about it.
So happening this year in the summertime or something like that would make sense because I believe that they tend not to announce these animated projects until they're mostly done, or at least well under the way, pretty much. That's what tends to happen.
Or a couple of months out from coming out.
Right, for various reasons. With that in mind, I'd already heard before the Acolyte was due to come out in like the early part of the year in terms of maybe April, May, going into the middle of the year. I heard Andor 2 was supposed to be towards the end of the year. Now, let's say, here's another thought process. Let's say Skeleton Crew was ready. They had to push it for a couple months, but for whatever reason they have, we don't know about, maybe they really, really feel they need to stick Acolyte where it is. So they don't want to put Skeleton Crew and crossover with Acolyte. So they could say, you know what? Skeleton Crew is not a timely for whatever reason that we don't know. We can push that to the end of the year and it doesn't do anything to us. And it gives us time to kind of like build off the Manaverse. Let's take that pause. We know this Manaverse movie is coming. Let's make sure we have our ducks in a row as we set up these pieces that got to take place beforehand.
But isn't Skeleton Crew part of the Manaverse?
Yes.
It ties in, right?
It does, supposedly. That's why maybe they're pushing it back to make sure they're having all their ducks in a row as we move into Mando Season 4, so Season 2, Rangers of the Republic, if that happens, that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm speculating myself. I'm speculating on possibilities of why. They want to keep for whatever's in the Acolyte season date then. Andor, who knows? That was another thing about the Bespin, by the way. Another thing that Andor, they actually said Andor could slip into 2020, like the beginning of 2025. Which I could see that happening. If it was supposed to come out like summer or fall of 2024, having it slip to the beginning of 2025, that makes sense because they weren't done filming at that point either. I know that much. So I don't know. Interesting to say. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. We haven't got an announcement yet. And until it gets announced, we can't really say anything. It's not like they said, all right. It's not like they came on Disney Plus and said, all right, Skeleton Crew in January, and now they're saying they're pushing it. It's never been announced.
I think my thing is more the time frame.
Right.
The pushing it back. Okay, yeah, that I get, and they're probably right. It's more the time frame.
Right.
Pushing it back a whole year makes zero sense, especially for something that, and like, it's not like you're bringing in some unknown to come in and do reshoots. You're bringing in Jude Law. That dude costs a lot of money, and all these child actors and stuff. Like Jude Law is going to be carrying this show on his back because you can't have all these kid actors going off and doing all these press junkets. You just can't. So it's going to be Jude Law and John. That's another guy, John Watts. John Watts' schedule is probably absolutely rampant because it's basically he's a big name director.
You know what? Let me interject real quick. You might be solving the whole reason why it took so long in the first place. Now, as far as money goes, Jude Law probably had in his contract that he has to do reshoots. A lot of the contracts these days, they have the scheduled days and they schedule reshoots. Maybe with their schedule, maybe he can't come back to do reshoots till much later on. Maybe he can't come back till May to do reshoots because of other things he's got going on. And same with John Watts. He's got other things going on. You know what? I want to do these reshoots, but I'm tied up on other projects at the moment. But we'll do the reshoots in May and then come back and finish that kind of thing. Maybe that's why it is pushed back a year. We don't know. There's a lot of things. That's always the problem about speculation. We don't know.
And then that's, and we probably should move on to the next topic of this. It was Dan Moore that I saw said, like, we need to stop this whole using reshoots to fix the narrative and fix story points. Like that just needs to stop. Like get it right before you roll picture. Get it to where you want it to be before you roll picture, and you wouldn't have these problems.
Well, I will say, and last thing I will say about this as well before we move on is that, I think Dan Merle, I believe he was talking about Marvel when it comes to this.
It was his "What If I Ran Marvel" video.
Right. There is a 50-50. There's a turn of the coin, as it were, for that as well. And that some reshoots have been around forever. And some those are like, it's only been really the past like 10 years that people have looked at reshoots as just like, oh my God, film reporting to be reshoots. It must be terrible. They're trying to save it. No, they have been built in forever. Sometimes you get a film, you direct a film, you go into the editing portion of it, you realize, okay, look, that is not working like I thought it was going to work. We need to add this. We need to look, and that's been going on forever. So there's a reason why these are built in the contract in the first place. Is there a chance, or is it sometimes, is that what they're doing, is trying to fix a movie and reshoots, especially with Marvel's scheduling this past like few years? 100%. They're like, well, we're fixing a reshoots. And that does have to stop. But I think it's a danger to blanket all reshoots with that idea. Perhaps reshoots for Skeleton Crew just was exactly that. They kind of said, you know what? Some things have changed since we originally shot this. And this part isn't working. We need to just touch up this and touch up that. And they just can't do it until later on. That's all it is, like scheduling wise. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm going to say push back. Yes. A year. No.
Okay. All right. Fair. But that, again, that's the problem, is that the fact that if it is pushed back at all, it's a scheduling thing as far as like, well, where do you slot it? I can't push it back into Acolyte. I can't push it back into this. So like, that's why.
Drop it and don't tell us. So just don't tell us when you're going to drop it. Just drop it and don't tell us. Surprise us.
That never happened, unfortunately. The one other good piece of news there for that is that, at least for us, Bad Batch might get its own window without the overlap, which I prefer. I prefer that far more.
Yes.
I don't want to have as much as I love having more content, having Bad Batch and Mandalorian at the same time, not as fun. All right, let's get into our final story of the day. The big one: Dave Filoni is now in charge creatively at Lucasfilm. He's promoted to Chief Creative Officer to oversee all future Star Wars storytelling. He is working along a new trio. Kathleen Kennedy is still in charge of Lucasfilm. She is the producer. She is doing what she does best, though, as far as that goes. Like, again, I've always been a supporter of Kathleen Kennedy as a whole. I think she's a legend as far as she goes. But I do think her best strengths lie outside the creative side of things, as far as the storytelling goes. I think that's where we're. So putting her in the position where she's doing a more producer like role as she's doing, I think that's good for her. I think it's good for Lucasfilm. Carrie Beck is also the new head of development, which I think is also cool as well. I think it's a great thing. But having Dave Filoni as the chief creative officer is a phenomenal piece of news. It is Star Wars is getting their Kevin Feige as far as they're concerned. Is it all awesome? Is it all glorious? I don't know. There are some pros and cons to everything, I will say. We'll get into that. But let's get into the actual quotes from the article from Vanity Fair. And this is actually a big piece of news because Anthony Breznican dropped it, and that's like kind of Lucasfilm's almost unofficial scribe whenever they want to drop news.
Before you do this, don't you bury me. Don't easy, Vince. You're not going to bury me on my own show here. Can we talk about how I manifested this? Dave, you're welcome for the new job. What did I say? Not 2 weeks ago. It's time they put Dave Filoni at the grown-up table, at the adults table. Let's take him away from the kiddie table now. He's a big boy. I said this on the very last episode. That it's time for him to do it.
Absolutely.
And we had a bit of a tete-a-tete, bit of a conversation as to what that could look like. And it's happened.
It has happened. It has happened.
Mystic Matt.
I hate to be the one, but I feel like this was in play a long time before you were actually working, before you actually said it. But okay. All right.
Don't bury me. Don't bury me, Vince.
Sometimes I feel like Vince, I'm a little old. Anyway.
You've definitely got the mustache that he's got right
now. Fair enough. All right, so I highlighted some quotes that we'll talk about, and so I'm going to read through the article, and then we'll actually break it down. Now, okay, Filoni says, I'm what's called Chief Creative Officer of Lucasfilm. Filoni tells Vanity Fair, which places him in the development process much earlier and in a much more expansive capacity than his previous advisory duties. In the past, and a lot of projects I would be brought into it, I would see it after it already developed in good ways. Filoni will now work more directly with Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy and alongside Carrie Beck, a veteran producer turned head of development, to originate and shepherd the next generation of Star Wars shows and movies. After spending many years involved in the creation of Star Wars animation, including the Rebels series, he became increasingly involved in live action as a producer with Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett. In this new role, it's open up to basically everything that's going on, Filoni says. When we're planning the future of what we're doing now, I'm involved at the inception phase. Now, importantly, he continued and said, there's a question of now Filoni's take on the chief creative officer. What does it mean for other writers, directors, and producers? Filoni says, I'm not telling people what to do, but I do feel I'm trying to help them tell the best story that they want to tell. I need to be a help across the galaxy here, like a part of the Jedi Council almost. He described his responsibilities as understanding the intent of the filmmakers and being a resource to them, based on his mentorship under Lucas himself and his years spent steering the Clone Wars, Rebels, and Ahsoka. Literally hours now of Star Wars storytelling I have done, he said, before pausing to rethink his syntax. See, I even phrased that like Yoda. To truly help filmmakers, it was really important for me to experience it firsthand, talking about live action Ahsoka. I can also lend a perspective on the challenges that these stories will present. I feel more capable of actually being helpful outside of just saying, well, Jedi are like this, Sith are like this. To continue going on, they mentioned a lot of things about basically everything still on, as far as Celebration went, the announcements that were made, those are all still on the books, including James Mangold's film, Daisy Ridley Ray film, television projects like Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So before we go on to the other part of the thing, he actually talked about Balin. We'll mention that at the end of this thing. We have in place now Filoni as Kevin Feige, for lack of a better word. And I'll let you tell me what your thoughts are. But my initial thoughts are, I love this. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. There are some hesitations. I think nothing is perfect. But most importantly, even beyond the fact that it's Dave, I think it's good that we have a person in play here, a single entity that can kind of hone things, shape them, and make us more cohesive as a overall universe. And that's someone who is much more involved, creatively speaking, as far as storytelling goes, than Kathleen Kennedy, who has been, again, like I said, she's definitively amazing at her job. I think it's better for her to be where she is now than kind of an overseer on the money side of things and the business side of things. Having a creative guy like Dave Filoni here is good. Now, the question is he ready? And I don't necessarily mean that in terms of storytelling, because he obviously knows Star Wars like the back of his hand. I think his best work has still always been in the animated side of things. I think Rebels and Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Begin Bat, whatever you want to call it. I know he graduated from Bad Batch a little bit, but that has always been his best work. I loved Ahsoka, but it definitely still shows him being a little raw in live action. He did work on Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but had the help of Jon Favreau. So that does, like, there's a little bit of a rawness to him that I'm not sure if he's completely ready for this kind of thing. The flip side being, I honestly could think this could be the perfect place for him, because I actually feel he's a lot more like George Lucas than we even thought of. He is a guy who has wonderful ideas, creative speaking, great ideas. But when it comes down to some of the nitty gritty outwork, some of the dialogue, some of the like day to day work of show running, it sometimes can get a little clunky. Sometimes can get a little pacing wise. If you look back at all of his animated stuff, he was brought in and he directed the really high points, and he kind of let other people develop out in between.
Yeah.
And I think Ahsoka was the first time he was doing almost all of it. And I think that Ahsoka, as much as I loved Ahsoka, I still enjoyed Rebels and Clone Wars a little more. Having him where he is now, this actually puts him right in play to play to his strengths. I will help you with the overall idea. I will place this in the Star Wars universe. I will help with the Star Wars feel of things. I will give you the George Lucasian approach to things. I can tell you where this fits in. Lucasian, I like that too.
I like that occasion.
Lucasian. But at the same time, it lets storytellers be storytellers and do their own thing. Last point about it also is we know that he has his own style. I do worry a little bit about him being a little too precious at times with the Lucasian things and Star Wars things. Getting a Taika Waititi robot chicken version of Jojo Rabbit, I don't know how much that happens as much under Filoni's watch. Because is that Star Wars? And I don't know. I'm saying that is a little bit of my hesitation that until we see it happen. Let's see what happens. Absolutely. But I do wonder if he might be a little bit too precious at times. Like things like Andor, completely outside the box. I don't know if something like Andor happens quite as easily with a Filoni in charge. But that's my mind drop. I'll let you have your thoughts, and then we can have the discussion back and forth on it. So what are your initial thoughts, and go from there?
To your most recent point, I think it depends on who's the filmmaker. You can't, and I've said this from the beginning, someone like Tony Gilroy, you give him a blank check and you say, go for it. Keep it in Star Wars, go for it. Someone like Taika, give him a blank check, keep it in Star Wars, go for it. Because they've earned their stripes. They've earned the respect. They've been in the business for long enough, and they've created enough, great projects beforehand. They created enough great art and have great storytelling abilities to really have earned that. Okay, yeah, let's keep it within the lines. You got to have certain things, but do your thing. If Denis Villeneuve came in, right, said, I want to make a Star Wars project. Is Dave gonna tell him what to do? A master filmmaker like that? If Chris Nolan came in, said he wants to make a Star Wars movie, is Dave Filoni, who's directed a few episodes of live action and one entire series, is he going to tell a master filmmaker like Nolan what to do? Of course he's not. But someone who's new to the Star Wars, someone like maybe Shamina Bates-Shinoy, who doesn't have that level of experience yet, he's going to handhold with her a little bit more. He's going to guide her a little bit more and be like, okay, you're new to this sandbox here. Let me help you bring your vision to life, but keep it within the Star Wars, within that sandbox. That's his job. And to be honest, I think we're going to get the Mandoverse. We're going to seal that out. And I think he's going to be done. I think he'd be like, did the Ahsoka series, did a feature film, got that under my belt. I'm going to go be the next George Lucas now. I think that's what he wants. I think once he's had the opportunity to close out Ahsoka's story, do this movie, I think he's not like a massive director that's like doing all these like junkets and touring all over the world and stuff. No, that's not him. He shows up when he needs to show up. And I think that he's very much, like you say, he's more like George than we think. George was never Mr. I'd be in front of the camera selling my movies. No, he did that behind the scenes. So I think that's going to be more of his role of like helping these newer creatives, people that come in that are already established. He's probably going to be like, look, just let me help you keep it in the box, and you can do your thing. Guys like Tony Gilroy or Taika Waititi. The thing I love most about this is I really hope that the story group are really pulled in now. Like, obviously they're there, but I really hope that they get a lot more involved. Like, can you imagine like having Claudia Gray like really involved in writing a Star Wars show, or Daniel Jose or someone else like involved in that, in the whole story group, like really brought in to help on writing something? It would be awesome. I'd love that, but it doesn't seem that he's the type to tell other filmmakers or creators what to do. He's just gonna help them. Like, he knows the themes and the big points to hit in Star Wars more than anyone ever will, other than George Lucas. To the point where I always say, if George Lucas says it, it's so. And it's probably going to get to the point where we say, if Dave Filoni says it, it's so. We've got Pablo Hidalgo there for the timeline stuff. Don't have to worry about that. That's Pablo Hidalgo's job. He can deal with that. Dave Filoni's job is going to be, does this fit with what would George Lucas do? Does it fit in that box? If it does, cool. If it doesn't, I'm not going to shit on you and tell you that you can't make this. I'm going to help you refine it, make it to what it needs to be, but still keep it to your vision, but help me to help you, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that you're not wrong. I would say that, though, there is that danger that it goes too far the other way. And I mean that because we don't get a lot of Christopher Nolans in here. We don't get a lot of Denis Villeneuve's in here because just like Marvel, a lot of these big filmmakers don't want to be forced into a box of a film that they don't want to make. Granted, I'd also put James Mangold into that, but he has worked with Lucasfilm before and seems to know how to work the progress, etc.
And he's talking to George directly about this.
Yeah, absolutely. But so a lot of Star Wars directors are more of the younger upstart directors. And do we miss out on a potentially new Denis Villeneuve in the works, potentially, because Dave Filoni takes a little bit too much, and in a good intentioned way. Absolutely. And I don't want to sound negative on this at all, because I'm not negative on it at all. I'm trying to present
devil's advocate.
Playing devil's advocate a little bit, and I'm presenting all sides of the story. Because overall, I'm definitively, first of all, I'm excited we have somebody in there. I think we need somebody in there, like, as to make more cohesive whole. I've said that before. And I think if anybody's earned their stripes, it's definitely Dave. I'm interested, like a sidebar, I'm interested to see what this does with Jon Favreau. I just finished the recent MCU book. They had the rise and fall, the rise of the MCU and all that stuff. And a great behind the scenes book. And talk about Jon Favreau, who was there in Iron Man, did Iron Man 2. He kind of tired of it and didn't want to be. He got mostly tired, from what it seems like, of having the Marvel creative committees like having their say with things. Kind of like he didn't like working under that blanket. So he comes to Star Wars. Kind of a similar thing to a degree, although I think he was given a lot of leeway at the beginning. And he does work with Dave. He helped Dave out, absolutely. I honestly, my first initial thought was, well, maybe he's gone. Maybe because it's not Dave and John at the top. It's just Dave. But then I thought about it. I said, maybe actually this makes him keep him around for a while because he can kind of do what he needs to do. Dave, you want to let me do this? All right, I'll do this. And I can go off and do my own thing anyway. I think having Jon Favreau around in the background, I honestly wonder if Jon Favreau doesn't have like a background deal like in place, like assistant, like not like maybe advisor, consultant, something like that. They just haven't really announced ever that he can work with Dave Filoni with it, and maybe he's there getting some advice or whatever it will be.
At the very least, he's on Dave's speed dial.
Oh, absolutely. That's for sure. They work well together.
And in terms of like the Marvel creative committee stuff, I think there's one person that's going to get a pass. There's the one person that's going to get the Filoni pass to do what they want. It's going to be Favreau.
Absolutely.
They've worked together long enough that Filoni knows that Favreau played with those action figures just like he did. So
I almost feel like it's funny in a way too. Like, and this is like a very juvenile thing, and this is probably not necessarily true, but the case was Dave Filoni kind of came up under George. As far as live action goes, he kind of came up under John. Obviously, he worked with John, and John kind of honed him and taught him a lot about live action, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So now, like, you work under John, now he's over John. It's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to tell my old boss what to do. I know kind of like, what do I know that he doesn't know already?
You wouldn't tell Mozart how to compose a symphony, so don't tell Dave Filoni how to make Star Wars.
Right. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I do think overall, again, like I said, it's a good thing. And I think, like you said, I think he might do something similar. He might do the Mando movie because I think he wants to do a movie. I think that's part of it. He wants, not only does he want to do a movie, but he wants to do this particular movie because he's been it's obviously involving Ahsoka, which is his baby. He doesn't like nobody. I don't share food. Joey doesn't share food on Friends. Dave doesn't like to share Ahsoka. So Ahsoka's going to be involved. He wants to do a movie with Ahsoka. He wants to deal there. All these characters are from the Mandoverse. Kind of a lot of them are coming from the Filoni verse. We actually have a lot of, Bo-Katan's there and everything else. And he worked on Mandalorian. So you see him wanting to do this combination and be the one in charge there. I think maybe he does step back at that point and say, you know what? Now I can just play with it all and help things out.
I don't think he's I think he's going to be too busy.
Yeah, that might be a place too. I could see him directing an episode here and there, coming in in here, especially if Ahsoka season 2 happens. I think he does obviously get involved with that. But as far as continuing going on in Mando season 4, I would bet he takes a step back from Mando season 4. Like, he'll be there, but that's why Rick Famuyiwa is like a part of the family now, and like I think it's going to be John and Rick for those parts.
I think Rick Famuyiwa is I think he's the next one up.
He's the new day-to-day guy that John will be working with. So. One extra aspect to this that is extreme positive for me. Having Dave Filoni as the head guy is a strong shot in the arm and positive for the animation department. Obviously, I don't think he'll ever forget his roots as an animator. He loves the animated side of things. I think this means we get, whereas some heads might not think about it and they might just go, whatever, yeah, sure, you can do animation. He'll be a positive influence in making sure we continue to get strong animated Star Wars storytelling. And quite frankly, I'm very happy with that because since Disney bought Star Wars, I honestly think the animated side of things has been my favorite part of Star Wars. Rebels, 100%. Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi. I love that stuff. I love Visions. A lot of Star Wars. Visions. I love a lot of Star Wars. I'm not disparaging the live action Star Wars. I'm here every week talking how much I love Mando, how much I love Ahsoka, etc. I love The Force Awakens. I love everything about Star Wars still. But when if I had to be truthful to my heart, Rebels, Bad Batch, that's Clone Wars season 7, especially the final arc. Might be my favorite piece of Star Wars since Empire Strikes Back, to be honest with you. So that is good news to me because we have Bad Batch ending, Tales of Jedi being in the works. We got to find out what's happening after Bad Batch. And I think Dave Filoni in charge will be good for that.
Here's the thing: we bring this up. If someone's show or film idea doesn't fit within the box, Dave could always say, "How would you feel about doing this animated?"
Yeah, and you know what I want to see? I'd love to see. I think here's a question I have. This is again branching off the topic a little bit, but I think what Disney Plus offers, what they haven't really gone for, and I think what they haven't really explored yet, and this happens on the Marvel side of things too, for that matter. Give me some one-off movies. Give me a one-off show, like a special, a 60-minute special. Like Marvel did it with the Werewolf by Night. The Werewolf Holiday Special, Werewolf by Night special in Marvel, I thought was phenomenal. I wish we got more of that kind of stuff.
That was the Giacchino one, right?
Yeah, the Giacchino one. The Halloween special that they did like a year and a half ago. We also had the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. A lot of fun that was. So I think if Filoni had an idea, as a movie maker comes in, I can't make a good feature. I can't make a full-length feature, or they don't trust him to make a full-length feature. Whoever it is, kind of like we don't want to put the budget to that. Okay, give me a smaller budget. I'll do a 60-minute special on Disney Plus, or I explore Dexter Jettster. You know what I mean? Like it's just like one of those kind of cool things you can throw out there. Once in a while. Maybe we get our Hondo special,
Life Day special with Dexter Jettster.
Absolutely. You can throw a lot of
Brian
stuff
Ward is
out there.
losing his mind right now.
He is. He's waking up somewhere. Wait, what? What is that happening? So, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential that has gone a little untapped as far as Disney Plus goes. They concentrating more on the series and everything else, but I think we could do a lot more. I know they want to pump the brakes a little bit, quality over quantity, and I get that because definitely quantity has been too much of a thing, especially for Marvel, for example. But use your time wisely, and it won't be a problem. That's my own personal thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else you want to discuss about the man with the cowboy hat in a new position? What do you think it means for Lucasfilm going forward or anything?
The only question I want to know, I would need the answer to, and Dave, I know you watch these, so you can tell. You can write in the comments, like, subscribe, and write in the comments, Dave Filoni. Does this promotion come with a bigger hat?
Yes, I think it does.
Does he go from Does he go from like the hat to a 10-gallon?
Maybe he has a Darth Vader mask with it or something. Has a hat with like something that comes down over the back of him or something like that. I'm just saying shit now. All right, folks, that'll do it for this week. Thanks for sticking around with us the whole time. Again, look at an hour and 20 minutes we did on just the news today. So I'm glad we pushed back any other topics of discussion.
We did have a few tangents.
We did have a few tangents, as we are known to do. But where can the folks find you, Matty?
You can find me right there on all social media. And while you're looking down there, why don't you look? Where's that like button? Over there? Why don't you look a little bit over there? Hit that like button. And a little bit over here, you got a button that says like subscribe. You should hit that too. And apparently, we have Holy Snokes merch now. I saw you watch it on your show with the great PJ Campbell, Big Blue Box, also on PLD Projects Network. Go check that out. Go to TeePublic, buy a t-shirt.
Absolutely, go to TeePublic, PLD Projects, TeePublic. We have all sorts of shirts for all of our special shows have some kind of merch, except for review. I don't think I put anything up there about review yet. But yes, we do have some Holy Snokes shirts that I've worn. A lot of fun there for them. And yeah, like Matty said, like us, subscribe, everything else. We're up to like 466 subscribers now. So we're slowly inching our way forward towards that 500 goal. I know, very modest goal. I know people have thousands of subscribers out there. Hey, we do what we do. I'm very happy to have you 466 along for the ride.
I would rather have 466 people that genuinely show up and listen to what we have to say and love what we have to say than a bunch of bots and fake accounts that leave stupid, idiotic messages.
Absolutely. But if you do want to help, engage, leave some comments, share. You want to help out even further, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/PLD Projects, which gives you some extra content and a cool group of people to hang out with, such as Austin Cadell, Jeremiah Morris, Matthew Kern, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Ultraman. Could not do this without you folks. I really, truly appreciate you and all the patrons. You really help keep the lights on and let us do these kind of great content for you. Speaking of great content, you find me all over the place on PLD Projects, as you should, because my name's in the channel. We do Holy Snokes every week. I do bi-weekly 2 Mediocre White Dudes on Film, myself and PJ, going through mostly horror franchises. We do other things as well, but right now we are knee deep in the dead with Friday the 13th. I had unfortunately canceled due to a scheduling thing. We couldn't do Friday yesterday. Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, or as I like to call it, Jason Takes a Cruise. But that'd be scheduled for 2 weeks from now.
Okay, little tangent before we go. How long is he actually in Manhattan for that movie? It ain't long, is it?
No, that's the reason why we retitled the movie Jason Takes a Cruise, because it all takes place on a cruise. He's in Manhattan. It's like the last third of the movie, but when he's actually in the true part of that Manhattan is like the dock and everything else. So how long is he actually in Manhattan? About 13 minutes. So yeah, that's a budget. Whole thing was a budgetary mess. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to that. But that's one of our other shows. Also, our new show, Matty just referred to it before, PJ and I finally decided to stop taking the first 30 minutes of 2 Mediocre White Dudes on Film talking about Doctor Who and give us an actual Doctor Who podcast now with the specials out. We have the Big Blue Box with PJ and PLD. That's going to be not a weekly thing. That's just going to be like an after show. So we got the 4 specials. We had one already for the 1 special. Next Tuesday, we'll have this week's special, Wild Blue Yonder. Then next week after that, we'll have the 3rd special, have the Christmas special. And then we'll try to take a break after that until the next series comes out with Shooty got well. We'll do an after show for that. We'll probably do some other shows here and there, but I want you to expect that to be a weekly thing. That's going to be as needed, as it were. But it'll be needed quite a bit as far as I'm concerned as well. But also got review, myself and Lego going through the V franchise. That's been an every other week thing as well. Love doing that. Getting a lot of new support with that. A lot of people discovering the channel through that. I'm really happy to have you guys aboard. Hopefully you're checking out all this other stuff as well. And finally, my sister YouTube channel, PLD Projects Crown Jewels, which you'll find in the audio form. It's all in the same feed. That is my Queen podcast, Crown Jewels. This week was another banger, another big, long project. We're the Champions. Very much one of their most famous songs of all time.
A Knight's Tale.
I did indeed. I went through the whole Robbie Williams stuff. So, because the Queen, Robbie Williams, did the whole song, the new cover of We Are the Champions, and that was included in my discussion. I will, but to be completely honest, I'll be happy to get past We Are the Champions, because We'll Rock You and the Champions I actually had to take 2 weeks to do, because they're actually very long. So many versions of them to go through. I think We'll Rock You was about an hour and a half of me just talking about We'll Rock You. This one was not too far off from that, about an hour and 10, hour 15. Next week, Sheer Heart Attack, quite a few less versions to go through, so it'll be a much more manageable time. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that as well. Next week, we're going to try to do the sports story and the reacting to the pod racing movie, as we were. Then following that, we'll most likely be doing the holiday special documentary, talking through that. A lot of Star Wars news coming up. Hopefully, we'll get some stuff about Bad Batch soon. Hopefully, we'll know about Skeleton Crew one way or another soon on the holiday season coming up. But until then, we love you guys so much, and we will see you next time here on Holy Snokes. Until then, as always,
may the Force be with you, always.